Okay, so I'm so happy that you're joining me to hear about teacher training. My personal feeling is that if you're already attending an info session, it means you're meant to do it. I really feel that it is the calling to teacher training, as with so many of our life pursuits and our soul pursuits, is really like a whisper that we hear in the back of our mind and in our heart. And sometimes it goes away for a little bit, then it comes back and it gets louder. And we always think these things. We think, well, now's not a good time. I don't have time in my schedule, or financially, it's not a good time right now. I don't have the finances for it. Or we think, you know what, my yoga practice isn't advanced enough. So yoga teacher training is not for me, at least at this point. And then we find ourselves still saying that 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And at this point, I've trained over 400 teachers, maybe over 450. And the main thing I hear from everyone is that they just wish they had done it sooner. They wish they had sort of listened the first time that they had that inner call. And that's why the tagline for my teacher training is, if you hear the call, answer it. So just to give you a little bit of background with my training and to give you a chuckle. So my mom was a yoga teacher. I grew up with her teaching yoga and practicing yoga in the house. She actually did her teacher training when she was pregnant with me. So I've always joked that I came out of the womb certified already to teach. I wasn't really drawn to the practice as a young person, and actually thought my mom was quite eccentric and quite strange, different than other moms. But as I started to get older, into my early teens, I really started to admire my mom in terms of not only the grace and the agility that she had in her body, but also the lens through which she viewed the world. And I realized that it was her commitment to spiritual practice and to yoga that was allowing her to be so I have trouble with my family. Have interest in yoga. I knew that these practices of self-reflection, whether it be meditation or yoga, were tools for self-discovery, and if I spent still with myself, I would get some answers, I would get some clarity, I would get some strength, and I would figure out what to do with my life from that time I spent in. So that's my time, maybe 16 at the time, and we thought yoga was so boring. Yeah. And we went to this very, very serious studio in Hamilton at the time, and it was very, very exclusive, and I would say like very snobby in a way, like very aloof. And we came in, we did not feel warmly welcomed. We felt like this practice just seemed so unrelatable. And then, of course, in the middle of class, my friend farts. She swears it was me. See, how am I going to use this for promotional materials? See, there's no point in me recording this. And we burst into laughter. We couldn't stop laughing. We got kicked out of the class. And that was it. I said, okay, well, yoga's not for me. I gave it a shot. So I almost ended my yoga pursuit after just 2 or 3 classes in total. And luckily, my mom came to me a few months later and she said, Katie, I have discovered this new style of yoga. It is going to light you on fire. It is going to, I just know it's going to be for you. You're going to fall in love with it. I've never seen anything like it. And she put a VHS tape in the VCR, and this man, this sinewy, lean, muscled man, David Swenson, started moving through this very meditative but very athletic vinyasa practice. And it looked like he was levitating. He was lifting up into handstands. He was gliding through into boat pose. And you know, it was almost like kind of like break dancing, but in slow motion. Like it was unbelievable, or dancing, you know, some form of dance. And I took one look at that and I said, that's what I want to learn to do. I want to learn to do that. So at first it was definitely a physical pursuit that really hooked me. But my mom and I got on a plane, we went to South Lake Tahoe, I was 17 years old, and I did my teacher training with only 2 yoga classes under my belt. So thank goodness I did, because it completely changed the trajectory of my life. Hence my life now, 27 years later, 30 years later, because I'm 47. So if I was 17, yeah.
You're 47.
I am, yes. Oh, thanks, thank you. I've tested my genes by a lot of hard living in my 20s. It's like, okay, it's still not too bad. But I'm so grateful that David accepted me into the course, because he easily could have turned me away and said, this girl, she has no yoga experience, this is not appropriate. He welcomed me, he welcomed everyone. Now, it was only a week long, but it was 40 hours. It was very intensive, and it just cracked my entire world open. I still get chills just thinking about that 7-day period of my life. And I have more stories to tell, of course. I love telling stories, but I just wanted to give you an idea of, to take away that intimidation factor of doing teacher training. Because if I did it with only 2 practices that I had done, and it changed the course of my life, I want to be able to meet you where you're at and say, yes, doesn't matter where you are in your practice, let's meet you where you're at and take you to wherever you can go in the yoga practice, but also in your own personal development. Because of course, what comes out of the yoga teacher training is unexpected epiphanies, unexpected clarity and revelations about your life and your relationship to yourself and your relationship to others. And it is quite the transformational journey. And it's a joyful journey as well. There are some courses out there that are very academic. There's a lot of paper writing. I totally respect those courses. Mine is not one of them. Mine is more practical, hands-on. Let's have discussions, let's workshop things, let's play around with things. And then at the end, there might be a little bit of homework, but you pretty much go back to your regular life for the 2 weeks until we meet again. And the idea is that ideally you come out to as many classes as you can, or you do home practices, or you go to a studio of your choice and implement the things that we've been learning. And really, because you're not going to absorb it all during the sessions. It's when you come to your mat, and even when you're hearing other teachers teach, and when you're observing other students in class a little bit, you learn a lot about how the body moves, and compensation patterns, and the breath, and all of it. So it's a very doable program in terms of your time commitment. It's only 6 weekends. It's every other weekend over the course of about 3 months. And it's 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. And then you have access to our full online virtual teacher training. So, and you have access to that for life. So you can always go back and review things and refresh things. I do continuously add to that platform as well. So there will be new material, like as my own understanding of yoga continues to grow and evolve, I will be updating with videos and tutorials on that platform. And we have run this hybrid version of the course 3 times now. Fully transparent. The first time we ran it, it was an experiment, because I usually did 12 weekends over 8 months with, of course, no virtual or recorded component, because that wasn't a thing. And so the first time I ran this, I thought, can I get these folks ready to teach in 6 weekends? And you know what? It was hugely successful. And
the first time?
Yes, yeah, because the in-person stuff is a pretty well-oiled thing at this point. I've done it so many times, but I have never had people go home and reference videos as part of their learning. So some of the questions were, are people going to actually follow through and watch the videos, right? But what we prescribe or assign to you is very, very doable. It's usually anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a week. I would say the most you would do in a 2-week period would probably be 10 hours of viewing. And all of the videos they're either 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes. So even if it's 10 hours of viewing, it could be like 7 30-minute videos, So it's very, very doable, you do it like first thing in the morning or before you go to bed, rather than like sitting and watching like a 10-hour long lecture or something. Yeah. So the faculty that you study with in the virtual course, you then get to do some in-person sessions with. But the idea is that you view the material at home and then you come to the in-person session with questions for that faculty member. And all of our sessions are quite organic. We do give you a schedule and an itinerary, but for people that love to be super organized and know everything, and really, it isn't quite like that. So I do work a little bit organically, like this is what I feel like exploring with you today. But you'll know if it's going to be pose focused or lecture based, you know, and you'll certainly know when you're going to be teaching and that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, all of the weekends are a mix of physical work as well as lecture and discussion. At the end of the teacher training, you don't have an exam. You basically have an opportunity to teach with, depending on the size of the group, it's either groups of 2, 3, or 4, and you teach for 15 minutes. And it's in this kind of group setting to your teacher training peers. And myself and my teacher training assistant, Elena, give you constructive feedback on your teaching. We also speak about what we've observed in you throughout the journey and just kind of celebrate you, like celebrate your gifts and your best qualities, and also speak to where we see you going and where we would like to also see you do some more training or study. And it's always a really key piece of the training, the feedback sessions. It's really powerful. And then everybody has the opportunity to teach one more time by themselves, just as an opportunity to refine or work on the feedback that was given to them. That being said, you do teach every single weekend of the training, but you may only teach to a partner or in a group of 3, or I may split the group up into half, and Elena takes half of you into one room and I keep the other half. So you're always getting this practice of getting up in front of like small groups and finding your voice and verbalizing the instructions. It's really great because whether you want to teach or not, getting up and speaking in front of a group is really, it's a powerful personal development tool, or it's a catalyst really for growth. So for people that do the course simply for their love of yoga and for their own, you know, personal discovery and development, the bonus is they come out of the course in a position to competently lead a class if they ever choose to do so. And they have a globally recognized certificate that they can do that with. And then the people that want to teach as a vocation also have that globally recognized certificate. The reason we don't actually test people is because in this foundational program, I certify everybody that completed the course requirements in terms of coming out to all the sessions or making up missed sessions. If they then want a reference from me for a job, I may say yes or no, depending on whether I think they're truly ready to go out and teach. The thing about certifying yoga teachers is that even after all these years of yoga being so mainstream, it's not a regulated industry. So you could certify me, like, you know, anyone could certify anybody. So it's a strange industry in that sense. There is an organization called the Yoga Alliance that kind of acts like a governing body. I do feel like they're well-intended and they're there to try to help bring some kind of order to this industry. But basically, you know, our certificate has that stamp on it. It's Yoga Alliance accredited. In case like whoever you want to get hired by is looking for that accreditation. Yeah. So when I first give this little introduction in this talk, and the reason why I hold these info sessions is because I really want to connect with the individuals that want to do the training. And usually I do that through one-on-one phone calls or meetings. But what I do typically find is that everybody has the same questions for me. So it's nice to be able to address those in this type of setting. So number one, the weekends, what's the time commitment, that kind of thing. Number two, do I have to have an advanced yoga practice to do the training? Absolutely not. I gave you my little personal anecdote to support that, but also yoga is not about flexibility. Flexibility and strength are a byproduct of the practice. A really great byproduct, is that, wow, I can do the splits, but it's not the goal, and it's not really the purpose of coming to the mat. You are there to spend mindful time with your body, with your breath, with your internal dialogue, with your heart, with your nervous system, and with your soul. So my mother-in-law, who's in a wheelchair, if she sits up tall and she's, mindful and present and watching her breath and curious about what's going on in her inner landscape, and she simply just tilts her head to the side, but she's aware of what that feels like, and she's interested and curious, that could be considered an advanced yoga practice. Whereas somebody who's doing gymnastics or acrobatics or a Cirque du Soleil performer, they're doing acrobatics. It's astounding and it's beautiful and it's awe-inspiring, but it's not yoga if there isn't that introspective piece of self-inquiry in there. So anyone can do the teacher training, because it's not about your ability to move. So we fit the poses to suit the individual. If you miss a session, you can make it up through one-on-one sessions with that particular faculty at an additional cost. It's $100 an hour for every hour you need to make up. But the good news is if you miss an 8-hour day, it usually only takes about 2 hours to make up that missed material. And if you miss half a day, it usually takes an hour to make it up. But then the other option is we can Zoom it, we can record it, or you can chime in over Zoom if you're feeling unwell and you're at home. And those are pretty much the options for making up the missed material. So I think at this point, I will open it up to you guys if you have any questions for me.
My big question is always cost.
The cost.
Right? That's a factor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just as far as budgeting and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the nice thing too is the prices come down. So when it was 12 weekends, it was $4,200, and now it's $2,900.
Okay.
And you can pay, so the deposit holds your spot.
Yep.
It's $500. Now I do say it's non-refundable, but I am willing to work with individuals. It's more if somebody drops out very last minute.
Oh yeah, of course.
And in the past, if the course has been full, which it has been.
Yeah.
But I am reasonable, you know what I mean? So, so that there's a deposit to hold your spot, and then we do payment plans.
Okay.
However, if you pay in full upfront, then you get unlimited yoga beginning 3 months before the program starts. So if that, for example, we've got June, July, August, so the 3 months would be starting very soon. So if you were somebody on auto renew, you could then pause your auto renew and your tuition would cover the 3 months of unlimited yoga leading up to the training.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you do have unlimited access to the virtual and in person. We require that you attend 2 classes a week during the training for your own value and benefit, but it can be in another studio if for people, we used to have people coming in from Niagara Falls, or so if they had a home studio, then they could practice there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do payment plans. Yeah.
Cool. And it starts in September?
Yes. I believe the first weekend is the weekend of the 15th. We do an orientation night on the first night. It's a Friday from 6 to 8 or 9, depending on how big the group is. And that's a night where we all get to know each other a little bit. And I speak a little bit more about my journey. And, so you can get to know me a bit better, since you're going to be spending a lot of time with me. And we have a few little surprises that night. It's a really meaningful night. It's a really special night. And then everybody comes in so nervous and so quiet, right? And I don't know why I get like extra giddy on that night, and everybody's just so vulnerable and sweet. And then by the end of the night, everyone's laughing and talking, and by the time everyone comes in the next morning, it's like all of that nervousness has just been dropped.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not like the first practice, you're like super nervous, right?
Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, and then we answer questions that night too, if anything else has come up, but, yeah, so cost, so you've got a benefit to paying in full. If you don't, you do the deposit, and then you do the payment plans, which we spread out over 6 months.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because 3 months is pretty, like for somebody that feels that they need to spread it out, I don't think that gives enough of like a lower payment option, so it's a 6-month option.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ray, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in, or you can type in the chat box. Okay. And do you have any questions?
Yeah, is it so would it be Saturday, Sunday? Is it?
It's Saturday, Sunday, yeah. 9 to 4. Yeah, it's usually questions about your practice, the time schedule, the financial piece.
I was just more curious, like how many people on average do you find typically are in like a group?
Right. So I've had anywhere from 12 to 36.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and 36 may sound pretty big, but when I have Alina here with me the whole time, it's actually quite manageable, and we do, break you up into a lot of smaller groups. Like I said, we'll take half the group into another room, and you would think that the smaller groups are naturally more intimate and connected, but it really varies. It depends on the personalities in the group. We had one group of 12, and I thought, well, this is going to be really special, but they were all so shy.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, but when in a bigger group, we usually have the funny one, we have the young one, we've got the old one, we've got there's different personalities that kind of infuse it with energy.
Yeah.
And it ended up being 12 very, very quiet, timid people. And I honestly, it wasn't until the graduation party that I feel like they actually started to connect. Yeah, I know. So I would say the max that I would probably accept would be like 26. I just put an even number on it because it makes for partners. Yeah. And we do the training between this room and the moon room.
Okay.
And so that room's nice for like sitting and discussing things because it's got the cushions and people eat their lunch in there, that kind of thing. And then we would be in here for more of the intense asana work. And yeah.
And that's a big point. Like there's time for like meal halfway through the day and
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
We usually get folks to practice teaching right after lunch, because that's when people are the most sleepy. So as soon as we say, we're going to get up and teach, then all of a sudden everyone's totally alert, adrenaline's going. So yeah, we have it all mapped out. We've done it so many times now that we kind of know how to play with the energy of the group. And that being said, every single time we go through it, it's different every time. There's always a few differences. It's really neat. Yeah. It's very special, and you'll develop lifelong connections with the people in your group, because you have this very, very important, impactful piece of your life in common with every other person in the room. And so no matter how different you are in every other area, you've got that camaraderie right off the bat. And it's really neat. You'll develop friendships. We've had people get married out of teacher training, have babies. We've had, people start charities together, or groups of girlfriends that have gone on trips every year. Like there's so many different connections that have come out of YTT. It's really amazing to witness.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Because as an adult, it's hard to make new friends. I think we
Yeah,
were talking about that at one of the 30-day challenge talks.
yeah,
You know,
it's definitely a different beast. Trying to like meet people.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not that natural thing of like school and the early stages of life, and
Yeah.
everybody's kind of got their life and like, this is what I'm doing. And then it's like, well, you know, you want to branch out and meet people. Yoga teacher training definitely is the place where you make connections. Mhm. Yeah, any other questions? Ray, do you have any questions? No? Now, Ray, I don't know how, like, we haven't had any real conversations, so I don't know if I know English is your second language. Am I speaking too quickly for you? Too fast? Oh, okay. So send me a message. If you write me a message, if you want to ask more questions, and we can have like a slower conversation, you know, because I know I pack a lot in, I talk really quickly. So send me an email if you want, okay? Yeah. Yeah, and if you guys have any other questions at all, you should totally do it. You should do it. You won't regret it. I stand so strong with the program, and everybody who completes it is so happy at the end. And I feel too, the good thing about it being 6 weekends, other than the fact that it fits into your life more easily, you don't have to give up as much. You that too. Exactly. Or if, you know, if you've got kids and everything, and then you're making arrangements for 12 weekends, it's a big deal. But what I also noticed with the 12 weekends is that it gives people a little more time to get in their heads and to start doubting themselves or questioning, you know, getting frustrated, I'm not getting it. And the people that I've managed to talk off the ledge midway through the course who make it to the end are so grateful that they stuck it out.
Right.
Because if they had left the course, they would have felt like it was a failure in their life. And sadly, there have been some people I haven't been able to convince. But with the 6 weekend program, you don't have time to think about it.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Yeah.
You just do it. Yeah, you see it through to the end. So yeah. So we've got like 5 people signed up right now.
Nice.
There were 5 people signed up for the session tonight. 3 of you came out. So, you know, we're in May, we could have 8 people, and we're gonna have a nice group. So
Cool.
yeah. So just let me know if you have any other questions, if they come to you later. Okay. Yeah. So this is basically the application process, is just having a conversation with me.
Okay.
So I would just put your name down. You could pay the deposit at the desk or directly through me. I don't let people pay online because I want to connect with people before they commit. And because I also want to make sure that it's right for them, that I'm right for them. And all of that. So it's basically at the desk or directly through me, or Emily or Alexa. And yeah, that's how we can get you registered. So yeah.
And if you have students that are a little more shy or scared of speaking with people, have they been like successful? Have we noticed that they've been able to get out of their shell and teach?
Yeah. So it's just being asked if somebody is really shy, you know, are they able to do it by the end? And the thing is, I want to keep it fair for everybody, because some have asked me for special consideration. Can they do it just alone in a room with me? And typically, you know, it's no, and I gently nudge them towards the final thing. And they get through it. We've had a few instances where it was way too much, especially with somebody that struggles with anxiety, even though it's not a test, and it's like a very loving, supportive environment. But if somebody on the day of is like in tears and they're like, I can't do it, I don't make them do it. And then we do it one-on-one. Yeah, or however they're comfortable doing it, you know, ultimately. Because I'm not there to torture anybody.
Yeah, but the lead up is like that gentle nudging. continuing towards. it.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I don't want to coddle anyone.
Yeah.
No, because we're in a culture these days that is like too much that way,
Oh, for sure.
you know, but I also am not like the tough, like, you know, I'm gonna break you, it's gonna be to your benefit, because some teacher trainings are like that. It's like hardcore.
Yeah.
And I don't, yeah, I don't want to traumatize anybody, you know?
Supposed to be a good experience.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a good experience. There's supposed to be moments of it being uncomfortable or nerve-wracking, and for sure, but it's not meant to be traumatizing. So I kind of take it on a case by case. Yeah, yeah.
I like have always feared speaking in front of people.
Yeah,
Depending on the group too, like how large the group is.
it is, yeah.
But I know like the first few times are hard, and then after that, I usually get pretty warmed up to it, so. we'll see.
Yeah, and if you start by teaching just one other person, while there's a ton of noise in the room, everybody's doing it. And then you teach, you teach a single pose to one person. Then you teach a single pose to maybe 2 or 3 people, and then you get assigned your teaching group. So then you're kind of going off into corners with them and you're all practicing teaching. And then maybe say on the 3rd weekend, you get up in front of half the room, so we're separated, and you teach one pose to half the room, and everybody has to do it, right? So you build up to it. So by the time you're on your last weekend and you're teaching your 15-minute segment at the front of the room, you've already been in front of all these people multiple times, and everybody's cheering for everyone, everybody's nervous, like it's just like a really special day like that. So you're kind of like, okay, we're all in it,
Yeah, we're all doing this.
We're all doing this. And there's room for laughter, there's room for you to mess up. It is an opportunity to do it in a safe space with people who are cheering you to mess up and forget your sequence or have to start again. It's fine. Yeah. So, all right. Okay.